address. And my wife, she came up with the second part of it, households under siege. And I thought that was a wonderful topic because when you're looking at right now, America and what's going
Houses
on.
are under attack. Families are under attack.
Right.
Under attack. Marriages are under attack. Kids are under attack. It just seems like it's just an all-out assault. And people are breaking down. Families are breaking down. I was telling someone, I think in the last 2 or 3 years, couples that I've known that have been married
4 years.
20-some years, you know.
Yeah.
They usually say if you get past 3 years or you get past 5 years, coming apart, marriages coming apart, kids committing suicide.
Right.
People on the verge of, I'm a part of, on Facebook, I love, I've always had an affinity for budgeting and finances. So I'm a part of some financial groups.
I'm sorry.
I'm a part of some financial groups and just looking at people getting there and they're getting advice from one another. People are telling their stories. People's finances and their foundation is falling apart. It's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on.
It's an
People's
assault.
health. I told my husband, in the last maybe 2 years, 3 years, I've known either directly or indirectly so many people that are our age, roundabout our age, in their early 40s, late 30s, that have died.
Yes.
Died. And I'm not talking about car accidents, you got hit by a train. I mean health issues.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, what is going on? And I just think that there's just so much pressure. But go on, honey.
But that's what we're going to be talking about. So do us a favor. Take this opportunity now. I want you to step outside of yourself. And if you know a couple that is struggling and having an issue or difficulty or troubling time in their household, I just want you to do us a favor. And all you got to do is just simply share this broadcast.
But you know what? It's not just couples. It's, maybe it's a single parent household.
Yes.
Whether it's a married couple or a single parent household, or, people are just under siege. Homes and families are under attack.
So guys, please just take this opportunity now and do us a huge favor. Help us get this wonderful, powerful message out. Just share it. That's all you got to do.
There is hope.
Just simply click share on your page.
Oh, yeah.
As we get into this Tuesday, our President of the United States will be giving a State of the Union address. And he does this every year, and it's something that all Americans look forward to, is to hear the state of our union. Mm-hmm. It really talks about the progress and the regress, or the challenges and different things that he had, our economy.
What we've overcome, where we're going.
And so it's like a forecast, but it also talks about where we are now. And so when he gives this address, it's not isolated to these 4 areas, but in this State of the Union address, talking about the family, we're going to isolate it just to 4 areas. Like my wife said, we can trickle down and we can talk about single parent households. We can talk about those different things. But we believe our assignment to the body of Christ is to build the family structure in marriages. So we're going to focus our
State of the
Union address on the marriage. We're going to cover, like I said, the president covers 4 major areas. He talks about the economy. He talks about infrastructure. He talks about military. He also talks about future endeavors. So that's how we're going to mirror this. We're going to talk about the same thing. We're going to talk about finances.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of introduce that today. Then we're going to talk about the infrastructure of the family unit. And we're going to really get into it. We're going to discuss that. And then we're going to talk about the military. How do you defend?
How do you protect your household?
Children, your family? How do you defend? How do
your
you
marriage,
fight against that?
Your own mental, we hear a lot of people talk about personal self-care, protecting, like you said, your kids and your marriage, but protecting yourself.
Right.
Realizing that if you go down, then that's just a door for the rest of your family to go down. So protecting yourself is just as important. It's just as important.
And then we're going to talk about future forecasting, how to move your marriage forward every week, because as we dig into this, my call in life is motivation, inspiration, and empowerment. I'll never leave you with a situation where you leave and you're feeling like you're in despair or you're hopeless or you feel like giving up or throwing in the towel. We'll never leave you like that, because we know that one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible says this: we're not like ones that have no hope. We have hope. And so we're going to always leave you every week with a nugget of hope and inspiration on how to take and move your marriage and your home and your family forward.
Yes.
And don't be stuck in a rut.
Well, let me say this, just like the State of the Union, what it's kind of supposed to be, and we're talking about the state of the family, it's like a meeting of the minds.
Right.
You know, where are we? How many times in our households do we get together and say, where are we?
Right.
Where are we and where are we trying to go?
Right.
And so you should do that. How are you going to move forward in agreement if you can't say, okay, this is where we are, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great. This is what the situation is. Now, what do we do from here to move forward?
So let's talk about this. First of all, we want to talk about the finances of the family. And we want to deal with that. We're going to talk about where we are right now. I'm going to kind of throw some statistics out there. We'll briefly discuss them and we'll talk about them. But 60%, so when you talk about economy in the when you talk about economy in the marriage, you're talking about money,
Okay.
finances. So I want to give you some statistics. 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 60% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
So what does that mean?
So that means you are one step away from financial ruin,
What if you miss a check?
sickness or illness
What
or
if
disease.
it's not even just missing a check because you lost a job? But what if something happens with the financial system? Anybody ever, I'm trying to think of the example. I was looking, I can't remember the company, but something happened with their payroll and it was delayed.
Right.
How many people out there, if your payroll is delayed, it will not cause major panic in your household? And I'm not talking about delay for months. Some people, if that thing is off a day, it's starting to crumble.
Right. They go in there mug, so I'm gonna blow that mug up. They need their money.
But what does that mean? You
Right.
know, living check to check, and a lot of people, they're swinging it, they're making it work. But think about the stress that causes,
Yeah.
the pressure that causes, the undercurrent that causes in relationships, the tension. And I always say kids are smarter than what we give them credit for.
Right.
Kids can pick up when there is tension or there's uneasiness in the house. Think about what that causes on your health. I know, just think about it. If you got news today that your check was going to be off a week or a month, just
some
even,
problems.
I got a feeling there would be blood pressure that shoots up. It'd be all kinds of issues. But 60% of Americans are going from check to check. That
No.
means they cannot miss a check.
Now, we understand we didn't isolate this just to marriages. If we looked at it just at married couples, I don't know what that number would look like. But what I did isolate just to marriages is 40% of marriages, and this is dangerous, 40% of marriages do not have an emergency fund. And what
Wow.
I mean by that, if some type of crisis or some type of
Something that's not planned.
something that's
what
not
it is.
planned happen,
I mean, you would be amazed, and just over the years, us talking and working with couples, if somebody, we think of emergencies, and of course there are really big, death and sickness and hospitalization, fire, flood. Those are big things. But we've talked to people where if the tire goes out, it's a problem.
right?
If something that they didn't count for happens because their budget is so tight, there is no give in their budget. There is no wiggle room. If the air unit starts to act up, the refrigerator starts making the washer and dryer. It creates pandemonium in the household.
Right.
And because there's no wiggle room, there's no give.
Most newlyweds don't get premarital counseling, and they get married and don't have life insurance. Now, I was one that did
Wait a minute,
that.
can I say
that
something?
because
I know.
I just didn't believe in having life insurance. I thought if you got life insurance, that means you was planning to die, and I didn't want to die in the early part of my marriage.
Can I put a little nugget in that one? Because that is one of your foundational principles to a good, solid financial plan, is having that life insurance in place. So if your income needs to be replaced for
Right.
those that are dependent on you. Now the nugget is, and when you said that, I wasn't realizing he's gonna get to that part that quickly. Now somebody try to get you a policy before you get married. That's all they talk about when you engage. That's a warning.
That's a
sign.
warning. That's
now
a
we
warning.
ain't talking about that.
Yeah, we're not talking about.
Or you make $20,000 a year and they want you to get $1 million policy. That's
Yeah,
a problem.
you need to really think about that now.
Yeah, that's a problem. But life insurance is a piece of that foundational puzzle.
Here's another very disturbing statistic: 29% of married couples have less than one. No, this is of Americans.
Of Americans.
29% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings account. So they kind of go hand in hand when we was talking about.
Yeah, well, and think about that. Depending on what the problem or issue is, you can go through 1,000 really quickly.
Really fast.
Depending on what the problem or issue is. We had an issue with our air unit.
Well, no, let's talk about this week.
No, it was the hot water cooler.
Before we go there,
was
it was the hot water cooler. Then they cost $1,000 to get
I
fixed.
said, what?
But before we go to that, let's just talk about what happened this week. I got up this morning, taking my kids to school. It was my morning to get the kids out, get them to school. I was getting them dressed, getting them out, getting them ready to go to school. I got in the car. My youngest son said I used profanity. I did not
You did not.
use profanity.
You have to know our youngest son.
Yeah, he's always like, Dad, you curse.
we
I
praying
did not
for him.
curse. I said, man, my tire, doggone it. My tire went out.
Black.
$200 if you want to buy a brand new tire. $200. You know me. I took it to the man. You know me. I'm always trying to cut a deal.
Patch it.
Patch it, baby. But think about what the tire. You hear me say tire? What if that tire was beyond being patched?
Yeah.
$200. Can you get your hand on $200
you gotta
right
get
now
to work.
to go get that tire fixed, to go to the job and do different things like that?
Or like
That
we
is a
said,
very
the
dangerous
hot
place
water
to
a
be.
couple of months ago, the hot water heater.
And that was $1,000.
And I was like, I didn't know they cost that much.
We're still talking about the state of the family. We talked about that financial. Here's one that I really thought was very important. The average marriage should take, let me say this again. The average marriage should take at least 2 vacations a year, but they're not doing that. What most married couples are doing is they're cashing in on their vacation days. Y'all understand what I mean by that? Instead of them actually taking a vacation, they're actually cashing in and they're getting the money and they're working more side hustles and working more gigs instead of investing in the home. Let me tell you the danger of that is. The danger of that is the next statistic I'm going to give you is 50% of marriages end in divorce in America. 50%. So if you take 10 people, 5 of those marriages are going to end in divorce. Let's look at, let me show you something. Let's take a more isolated look at the African American community. And my wife, she said, you don't want to seem like you're picking on our community. We are black. We are part of the African American community. I am black. I'm a black man. And this shook me to my core when I heard this, honey. 50% of marriages don't make it in America. But when you put it under the lens in the African American community, 70% of marriages end in divorce.